He always cut the image of a man in control, a man exercising political power to the fullest. Feared he was, and with an iron fist he controlled the country's political scene.
Mwingine anasema Moi amebewa powers. Powers gani ninazo? Kwa chama cha KANU, powers ufanyie nini powers? Kweli watu wameniogopa hata mimi nikikaa.
Moi was a master survivor. How he ascended to power marking the first step.
Mimi, Daniel Toroitich Arap Moi, naapa kwamba nitakuwa mwaminifu kwa Jamhuri ya Kenya na kuitumikia kwa moyo wangu wote.
In his 24-year journey of survival, as the late Mzee Jomo Kenyatta's second in command, Moi was deemed an unlikely successor. A contingent of influential political leaders around the late founding father even labeled him a passing cloud.
From the time he was vice president, he knew there was this clamor that Moi should never be the president. He knew the leaders. Kina Kihika Kimani, kina Njoroge Mungai, Angaine Jackson, did I mention Njenga Karume, kina Paul Ongei, and other supporters. So, Mzee Moi, because of the treatment he got when he was vice president, he became hardened. He had a heart of Teflon material, so nothing stuck.
Barely 4 years in power, there was a military attempt to dethrone Moi. Though the attempted coup was quickly neutralized, the incident completely changed Moi's personality. He turned ruthless and tough, trusted very few people, and from then on, led with an iron fist.
And what is the cardinal instinct of any living thing, of any human being? The cardinal instinct is self-preservation. Other things later. Yeah. You cannot be a good man if you are dead. Yeah. You have to be alive first. So, his toughness also emanated from that. You cannot spit on him and get free and get away with it.
The Sunday Times, in an article, affirmed Moi's self-definition as a professor of politics, and I quote, "Moi may not have studied politics at anyone's university, but he has proved himself a real professor of politics in the practical sense." End of quote. The late opposition chief Jaramogi Oginga Odinga, in his autobiography Not Yet Uhuru, likened Moi to a giraffe with a long neck that saw from afar. Legal scholar Professor Makau Mutua, in an article published by the Saturday Nation on 30th March 2013, termed Moi a political genius who, and I quote, outsmarted and outfoxed everybody. Yes, accept it. Mr. Moi had no political equal. The question is why? The man from Baringo isn't possessed of enormous raw natural intelligence, but his political instincts are truly unparalleled. End of quote.
What is required is practical politics, not theoretical politics. Understand language ya mwananchi, language ya grassroots, language ya taabu ya wananchi katika vitongojini.
Having cracked down on dissent in 1982, Moi went on to win the 1983 snap elections and retain the seat in the controversy-ridden 1988 Mlolongo polls. But in 1990, the former president's nightmare began. The clamor for multi-party dispensation kicked in, spearheaded by Kenneth Matiba, Jaramogi Oginga Odinga, Charles Rubia, Martin Shikuku, among others. The murder of the then Foreign Affairs Cabinet Minister Dr. Robert Ouko aggravated the situation for Moi.
Kama nataka kuongoza Kenya, si mali. Mwaka huu bado kuisha. Kwa nini haraka? Unaharakisha namna gani?
His political acumen was increasingly on trial. In 1991, Moi seemed to be at his weakest, with the opposition brigade piling pressure, and he yielded to pressure and agreed to repeal Section 2A of the Constitution, ending KANU's days as the sole political party and paved the way for multi-party politics.
Sisi tuseme kwamba tufungue tuondoe ile section ya katiba ya Kenya ya 2A.
Kimani Ngonjiri, who currently represents Bahati constituency in the National Assembly and was a long-serving KANU chairman in Nakuru, tells of the intrigues before the groundbreaking decision was arrived at during the party's National Delegates Conference at the Kasarani Gymnasium.
So he was telling us, no Section 2A. No Section 2A. All the chairman and everybody, we went delegated knowing there is no Section 2A. But the man is very clever. After we are given a chance to talk with the chairman, no Section 2A, no Section 2A, everybody will talk. What you will do, the final? After listening to the mood and to the people and the country, to secure this country, we have to give Section 2A. And we who are rejecting, and we are there, we all clap now and start saying now. You see, that's how he was mad. He must come out himself with the solution. As a president, those are the controls he had.
Moi kept a firm grip on KANU affairs. At the NDC, he blasted some unnamed party honchos for double dealing.
Shida ambayo mlionayo, ijapokuwa mnasema sisi ndani ya KANU kuna mambo kadha, hamjui kwamba ndani yenu wenyewe kuna Ford. Ambao wamevaa nguo ya mbwa wa mwitu, wameingia ndani yenu, na namna ya kutoa ni ngumu, maana inalala kilichoko kikulacho kiko mguoni mwako.
A year later, Kenya went for its first general election following the reintroduction of multi-party politics. Moi, in a cunning way, triggered divisions in the opposition team. Forum for Reforms and Democracy, FORD. Kenneth Matiba vied on a Ford Asili ticket. Mwai Kibaki flew the flag of the Democratic Party of Kenya, DP, while Jaramogi Oginga Odinga ran on a Ford Kenya ticket. Moi garnered 1.9 million votes, with the opposition candidates garnering a combined 3 million votes in an election marred by allegations of ballot stuffing and ethnic violence. 2 years later, the clamor for a new constitution that had begun simmering in the 80s returned with a vengeance. The opposition bigwigs, backed by civil society players and university scholars, kept Moi on his toes. In Parliament, the opposition benches were giving Moi restless nights. The constitutional reform slogan grew louder each day, amplified by the diplomatic missions in Kenya.
Na kusema KANU inataka kuongeza siku. Mnafikiri mimi sitaki kutoka? Naweza kutangaza uchaguzi anytime kama nikiona under the present constitution. Ama waseme maneno yao sawa sawa ukweli ulioko.
The heightened clamor for a new constitution soon birthed a vibrant civil society grouping that came to be known as the National Convention Executive Council, led by a soft-spoken scholar, Professor Kivutha Kibwana, who would later become the first governor of Makueni County. NCC rallied the country against Moi's single-party rule. They organized conventions to discuss a new constitution and produced a model constitution dubbed the Kenya We Want and translated it into various Kenyan languages. But But when opposition politicians began teaming up with NCEC in the now deafening noise over a new constitution, Moi sensed danger. In a surprise maneuver that would split the political opposition and diffuse tensions in the country, Moi engineered an unlikely political process that came to be known as the Inter-Parties Parliamentary Group Initiative, IPPG. A majority of the political bigwigs that had teamed up with the civil society quickly jumped onto the new initiative and abandoned the quest for a new constitution ahead of the 1997 general election. Nonetheless, IPPG opened up the political space somewhat. Opposition political parties got a concession to nominate their representatives to the Electoral Commission. Political rallies would no longer require licenses, and the state broadcaster was now required to give equal airtime to political parties during campaigns. Some of the agreements were never implemented to the letter, but the professor of politics had once again outfoxed his opponents and went on to win the 1997 election, polling 2.5 million votes against Kibaki's 1.9 million and Raila Odinga's 667,000 votes. And with that victory, notwithstanding claims of rigging and other electoral malpractices, Moi began his exit from the political scene, but not before a series of memorable and significant political milestones, among them KANU's short-lived merger with Raila Odinga's National Democratic Party, NDP.
Kama KANU na NDP naungana, KANU nakuwa na nguvu. Pilipili usijoonja kinakuasha nini. Mtu anataka kutisha, mtu hata wakanu kwenda kotini, huwezi kustaki chama chako. Unastaki ukisema nini?
With the renewed strength, Moi even took charge of the Constitution Review for a moment, working with his newfound Secretary General Raila Odinga to put in place a parliamentary select committee to kickstart the process. The Odinga committee would name renowned scholar Professor Yash Palgai to head a Constitution Review Commission.
Katiba si ya Moi, katiba si ya Kibaki ama kwa nani, katiba ni ya wananchi wa Kenya wote. Mimi achakani nataka tu katiba ya kuwezesha wananchi wa Kenya kuishi kwa amani, haki za kila moja. Hiyo tu. Kwa nini na picha ya kufanya nini? Sema wazi. Hata mimi I'll make my own contribution. Na sijui Kai, kwa nini Kai, why has he not come to see me? Na nitamwambia the type of constitution Kenya needs is a constitution that will protect them.
Moi sent the clearest signal yet that he was exiting the political stage, shifting focus to who would be his successor in the Jogoo Party.
Nitaondoka kwa siasa ya moto mina kwa raia mwema. Lakini wale wanaozingatia kuongoza, msiweke Kenya chini. Msiweke msingi wa siasa zenu kwa chuki. Kama yuko mtu ametukana mimi namsamehe. Na kama yuko mtu ambaye nimesema chochote ambaye kimeumiza roho yake, unisamehe.
Moi sidestepped senior KANU leaders and opted for a political greenhorn, Uhuru Kenyatta, as his successor and KANU's flag bearer in the 2002 presidential race. That decision marked the turning point in KANU's 50-year reign.
Huyu makamu wa rais ni rafiki, lakini urafiki, sikieni, urafiki ni tofauti. The interest of 30 million people overrides other interests. Na kwa hivyo mtu asifikiri kwamba kwa sababu mimi nakwenda namna hii na gombana na makamu wangu wa rais, hapana. Hiyo ni siasa ya pesa nane kama wale wanakimbia hivi.
Feeling slighted, Raila Odinga led a massive walkout from KANU, carrying with him long-term Moi loyalists, including the then Vice President Professor George Saitoti, to join forces with Kibaki, Michael Kijana Wamalwa, and Charity Ngilu, among other luminaries, to form the National Rainbow Coalition, NAC. The coalition's candidate Kibaki whitewashed Kenyatta in the presidential contest. Finally, the curtains came down on Moi's 24 years, 4 months, and 8 days in power. Once he handed over to Kibaki at Uhuru Park, Moi began his journey to Kabarak, signifying a smooth transfer of power.
I thank you for following me all right to my home. Have tea, if you have not had tea.
And the professor of politics is no more. Was he a dictator or a disciplinarian?
Watu walikuwa wanasema Moi alikuwa dictator. Lakini hawakufahamu kwamba discipline si dictatorship. Singeweza kuruhusu kila waziri kusema yake, mwingine kusema yake.
Was he a hands-on leader or a control freak? The jury is still out, but friend and foe alike admit that Moi evoked fear, loyalty, love and hate in a potent mix that Professor Makau Mutua aptly captured in an article titled Why Former President Moi is a Political Genius that was penned for Saturday Nation, published on 30th March 2013. He said, and I quote, "The man is simply a political genius. That's because he has combined patronage and political wizardry in more potent combinations than any other Kenyan leader, dead or alive." Francis Gashuri, Citizen TV.